Dear friends in YouTube, this is a very special session conducted by the Culture Studies Research Forum. The Culture Studies Research Forum is an open forum started by students of Vallath to bring together lots of brilliant academicians and speakers and writers to discuss various aspects of culture studies. It was inaugurated a couple of years ago by Dr. Meenati Pillai, and we have had sessions every month thanks to Koyal and team. So today we have a great scholar from Kerala. He is one of the best professors who are now working in our colleges, Dr. C.S. Biju. It's a great privilege to have you here with us, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Koyal, over to you. Please introduce, sir, and start the proceedings.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And thank you, sir, for joining us. So good evening, everyone. First and foremost, I extend a warm welcome to all of you attending the 7th public lecture in 2024 organized by the Cultural Studies Research Forum. Our focus today centers around the intriguing topic, body, memory, and performance. This lecture marks the second and final installment of two-part series dedicated to performance studies. Before we delve into the heart of our discussion, allow me to reintroduce our organization, CSRF. As already ma'am said, that CSRF is a student-driven non-profit committed to fostering free public lectures and thought-provoking discussion across various cultural studies research areas. Our mission is to empower students by exposing them to new research domains, literary trends, and cutting-edge theoretical concepts, from poetry and dance to music and culinary traditions. CSRF provides a vibrant platform for critical thinking and creative expression. Our engaging talks aim to spark lively performances and conversation and broaden our understanding of diverse culture and practices. Now, I would like to call Ms. Dintika to come forward and introduce us with our today's esteemed resource person, Dr. C.S. Biju sir. Over to you, Dintika.
Dintika, give me a second. I have made you co-host. You have to unmute yourself. Dintika, please unmute yourself. You can do it now. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Dintika Mahinder. Allow me to introduce our distinguished academic and researcher, Professor Dr. C.S. Biju, Principal of Sacred Heart College, Hevera. Dr. Biju's journey spans disciplines blending both mathematics and literature. He holds dual PhD degrees, one in English, which focus on English literature from MG University, and another from Kalamandalam University in Fine Arts, a realm where the body becomes a canvas for memory and expression. His expertise bridges textual analysis and artistic expression. For 29 years, Dr. Biju has served at St. Thomas College, Thrissur, in roles ranging from assistant professor to professor, which reflects his unwavering dedication. As the IQAC coordinator for 7 years, he championed quality enhancement, fostering an environment of continuous improvement. Dr. Biju's scholarly contributions include UGC-listed publications, research projects, translations, and international lectures. He has authored 2 books and edited 2 more, significantly shaping literary discourse. Notably, he received awards such as the Risad Award in Madrid, Spain 2003, the prestigious Fulbright Scholarship 2002, and the CVIT International Research Grant. In our upcoming webinar, Dr. Biju will unravel the intricate relationship between body, memory, and artistic expression. Prepare to be inspired as he weaves together literature, movement, and the human experience. The stage is yours, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dintika Mahinder, for your kind and elaborate introduction. First of all, forgive me for, I hope I'm audible to everybody.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. First of all, forgive me for being late because of some glitches, technical glitches. And I'm deeply indebted to Ma'am Kalyani Vallath for her invitation. And moreover, I'm deeply impressed by her academic attempts outside the so-called formal professional, academic circles. And she is one who inspires many young students to delve deeply into the academics through lectures, seminars, and many other publications too. So, ma'am, thank you again for inviting me to your this prestigious program. And Cultural Studies Research Forum has been instrumental in establishing many unknown areas to the young researchers in Kerala. I'm also thankful to Koil Banerjee for her, promptly interventions in organizing this lecture series. And this is about, my paper is about a play written by Susan Laurie Parks, a very renowned American playwright. And I came in contact with her long back in 2001 while she was preparing, she was just after her publication of the first draft of Venus, a play based on the story of Sarah Baartman, that is Sarjeet Baartman, who was born in late 18th century and died early 19th century, who from South Africa, Eastern Cape of South Africa. She belonged to a tribe called Khoikhoi, and she was taken to Europe in around 1810 as an exhibit, as a spectacle. And she was exhibited in, her naked body was exhibited in London and Paris many times. And finally, she died in Paris. And her, she was well known as, exhibited as Hottentot Venus in London. And due to her physical features, especially of her huge buttocks, which was a feature of Khoikhoi women at that time. And she was subjected to scientific scrutiny too. And Baartman faced relentless objectifications and finally lived and died in poverty and ill health. After her death on December 29, 1815, her body was dissected and subjected to numerous modern scientific experimentations. And her remains were displayed in Paris Museum until 1974. And her remains were repatriated to South Africa late in 2002 and given a dignified funeral. So this is a short biography of a woman who was born and brought up in a remote South African village and became a spectacle for the fashionable crowd in London and Paris, and finally ended up in alcoholism and ill health. This, I came to know about this particular play based on the story, Susan Laurie Parks, who got a Pulitzer and many other awards, has written a play. Parks has written many plays, Top Dog, Underdog, Fucking A, and her 1996 play, Venus, first was directed by a very renowned American director, Richard Foreman, at the Joseph Papp Theater in New York. And later, in 2000, that play again came to public attention for a commendable number of reasons. And at the time, Susan Laurie Parks had a long conversation with Tony Kushner, another contemporary playwright who is very important in modern times, whose play Angels in America has become one of the memorial pieces of AIDS. And they had a long conversation at the discussion hall of Joseph Papp Theater when I was serving as a Fulbright scholar in New York University. And I got in touch with Susan Laurie Parks and Tony Kushner. I've seen that play at that time, but later in 2017, when I visited again New York, there was a reproduction. There were many productions, the revivals of other productions of Venus. In the 2017 production at the Signature Theatre in New York was phenomenal, spectacular, which was directed by Lear de Bensoth, which I have seen. This production was praised for its contemporary relevance and powerful performances, particularly by an African-American actress called Zainab Jah in the titular role. And the original, the casting for the original production was Adina Porter played the role of Sarjeet Baartman, and her portrayal was critically acclaimed for its depth and sensitivity, bringing to life the tragic and resilient spirit of Baartman. This is very easy to find details of Sarjeet Baartman's life and pictures through Google. And I'm not detailing into that. I'm, trying to connect how performance, performance interprets bodily memory in a wide variety of ways. So that's why the title, Body, Memory, and Performance. To my paper, the first part is body memory. Body memory refers to the concept that human body can store and recall memories of past experiences, particularly traumatic ones, at a somatic level. This is the fundamental argument with which I'm trying to interpret Park's work on Venus. This phenomenon is supported by findings in neuroscience and psychology, indicating that physical sensations and motor patterns are linked to emotional and cognitive memories. And this particular analysis is intrinsically connected with the kind of scientific inquiry conducted on Sarah Baartman's body by late 18th century scientists. There is a wonderful book by Amina Mama about the modern scientific experimentations of black bodies in late 18th century and early 19th century. They have experimented with running away slaves at that time in United States. Techniques such as somatic therapy and body-focused psychotherapy leverage this understanding, aiming to address and integrate these embodied memories to promote healing and psychological well-being. Performing body memory theatrically involves actors embodying characters' past experiences through physicality and movement, conveying emotional and psychological histories stored in their bodies. This approach is grounded in the understanding that the body holds and expresses memories, particularly traumatic ones, beyond conscious recall. In Venus by Susan Laurie Parks, the portrayal of Sarjeet Baartman relies heavily on the memory and body, the interconnections between memory and body. The actress playing Baartman in the 2017 version of Venus, who conveyed truthfully her trauma and resilience through physicality, illustrating how her body becomes a repository of historical and personal suffering. In between, may I ask you a question, Coil, ma'am? How many minutes do we have?
You can just continue. Maximum 1 hour, sir.
Okay. I won't be that long, but in between, I have to, that's why I asked. Okay, no problem. We'll have a discussion after this, within this 1 hour. Okay, so directors and choreographers collaborate to create scenes that highlight the interplay between memory and embodiment using movement, posture, and stillness to evoke the character's internal world in all versions, including the first production by Richard Foreman. This method of establishing interconnections between memory, history, body, and performance enhance the audience's understanding by providing a visceral, embodied experience of the character's history, making the narrative more impactful and authentic. Through body memory, the performance transcends verbal storytelling, engaging viewers on a deeper somatic level. So this is fundamentally my argument. And the race and performance, one of the major issues embedded in the production of Venus, because she belonged to Africa and an African tribe, and she was taken to Europe during the colonial times as an exhibit, a piece of spectacle. Race and performance has been critically and grotesquely represented. The body memory through the production of multiple representations of Baartman's body. The next important factor is gender and sexuality, which Parks's work delves into and locates a discourse of bodily memories at the intersection of race and gender, emphasizing how Baartman's subjectivity was invaded by a double marginalization, which is both racially and gender-wise. Her sexuality is exoticized and fetishized, demonstrating the perversive, patriarchal, and colonialist imagination of early 19th century. And there is another question of imagined histories. The play's engagement with historical narrative, because there are multiple narratives on about the story of Sarji Baartman, produced variously by manipulating in a multiplicity of ways her story, her travel to Europe, and how she has become exoticized to the European white audience. And she had been displayed as a spectacle in a cage in many places. And finally, her body was, in the remains of her body was displayed in the Paris Museum. These issues are intrinsically connected with the question of race and the double marginalization of race based on race and gender. These imagined histories were brought into focus by bringing Baartman's story onto the stage. The director challenges the audience to confront uncomfortable historical truth and to question how history is told and who gets to tell this. Again, it reminds us of power, the discourse of power and agency inherent in the narratives related to Baartman and the performance of Baartman's biography, life. The play explores the power dynamics between the colonizers and the colonized, the exhibited and the exhibitors. Parks raises questions about agency, wondering whether Baartman had any control over her fate and how she might have navigated her life as a spectacle. Above all, the play offers a wide variety of structural and stylistic elements in connection with the performance. The play Venus employs a non-linear structure, blending past and present, reality and performance. This approach underscores the kaleidoscopic nature of Baartman's life through a 31-scene-long fragmented actions. To a large extent, the 2017 production is devising theater, was performed in a devising theater format in which multiple memorial lines have integrated into the body of the performance of memory and body of Sarji Baartman through the production of Venus. And the playwright was exceptionally careful of the meta-theatrical techniques used in the play, because the play is self-referential and often breaks the fourth wall, involving the audience in the ethical considerations of Baartman's exhibition. Parks uses this technique to make the audience complicit, forcing them to reflect on their own voyeurism and consumption of the spectacle. This finally leads to an analysis of the body politics in Venus, which encompasses memory, a body comprised of memory, a body in performance comprised of memory, and multiple layers of historical narratives which were embedded in the making of that body. And later, the transcultural and colonial, post-colonial engagements of that body in the that body in performance in the making, etc. So colonial gaze and racial othering were also considered to be very important in the analysis of the play. The play critiques the colonial gaze that views non-white bodies as exotic, primitive, and inherently different from the norm, which is the white body. Baartman's body is exoticized and fetishized by European spectators, highlighting the dehumanizing impact of racial othering. Her body becomes a site for the projection of colonial fantasies and anxieties, illustrating how race is constructed and reinforced through visual spectacle, which is finally a performance. Venus portrays Baartman's body as commodified through a series of spectacles and exhibits, which followed the exhibitions in London and Paris. This commodification of strips Baartman of her agency and reduces her to mere an object of consumption and a spectacle. The play interrogates how bodies, particularly those of marginalized individuals, are used and abused within capitalist colonial systems. Baartman's body as a spectacle and as a performance has some gendering dimensions too in connection with the body politics. Baartman's experience is not only racialized, but also deeply gendered. Her body is hypersexualized and subjected to the male gaze, reflecting the intersection of racism and sexism. Susan Laurie Parks examines how Baartman's femininity is constructed and controlled by colonial, racial, and patriarchal invasions, underscoring the vulnerability of Black women to dual forms of oppression. What's most criticized in the 2017 production of Venus is the scientific approach to racism and the emergence of pseudoscience in favor of colonial practices, particularly in the United States, in connection with the slavedom of Africans in America. The play addresses the role of pseudoscientific practices in legitimizing racial hierarchies. Baartman's body is scrutinized and measured by scientists who claim to find evidence of racial inferiority. Parks critiques the misuse of science, pseudoscience, to justify exploitation and perpetuate stereotypes about African bodies. The next important factor regarding Venus Venus is in connection with the politics of visual culture and spectacle of the early 19th century in Europe. Baartman's public exhibition is a crucial aspect of the body politics in Venus. Her body is displayed as a freak show attraction, a practice that underscores the voyeuristic pleasure derived from the humiliation and subjugation of the other. Venus raised questions about the ethics of the spectacle and performance, intrinsically connected with the power dynamics involved in who gets to look and what is looked at. In the 2017 production of Venus, there is a very powerful reclamation of agency by Baartman, despite the pervasive exhibition of Venus exhibition. Venus attempts to give Baartman a voice, exploring moments of resistance and agency. The play does not offer easy resolutions, but invites the audience to consider the ways in which Baartman might have navigated and resisted her circumstances, reclaiming some measures of autonomy over her body and narrative. Venus is a profound debate on the politics of body, revealing how power, race, and gender intersect in the historical exploitation of an African tribal woman in a colonial space. Susan Laurie Park's play challenges audiences to confront the uncomfortable realities of how bodies are politicized, and invites a critical examination of the legacies of colonialism and patriarchy. Body memory plays a pivotal role in the understanding of historical trauma in the spectacles of Eurocentrism, in the spectacle of Sargit Baartman. Body memory refers to the idea that the body holds and expresses memories of experiences, even when they are not consciously remembered. Pax uses this concept to explain the lasting effects of Sargit Baartman's experience and to comment on the broader implications of historical violence against marginalized bodies. There are quite a few important points in connection with the question of body memory and performance in Venus, in the production and performance of Venus. The play portrays Baartman's body as a living repository of trauma. Her experience of exploitation, objectification, and dehumanization are inscribed on her body, which becomes a site of historical and personal narratives. Venus highlights how Baartman's physical form carries the weight of her suffering, reflecting the idea that trauma is not only a psychological phenomenon, but also an embodied one. In Venus, Baartman's body serves as a symbol of collective memory of slavedom, mobility of the slaves, and the spectacle. The play connects Baartman's individual experiences to the broader history of racial and gendered violence, emphasizing the continuity of oppression across time. This collective body memory underscores the enduring impact of colonialism and racism on successive generations. Apart from the pervasive trauma, Venus also depicts Baartman's body as a site of resistance. Her physical presence and the characterization of Baartman as a radical African woman, Baartman demonstrates a form of embodied resistance. The play's focus on Baartman's public exhibition highlights the tension between the body as a spectacle and the body as a subject of performance with its own memories and identity. Parts explores how Baartman's performances, though biased, allowed her to reclaim aspects of her identity and asserts her humanity. This reclamation is an act of remembering and asserting the self in the face of systemic erasure. Parts play use repetition, disjoint timelines, and surreal elements reflects the way in which body memory disrupts linear narratives and memorial lines and challenges conventional understanding of history. This structure underscores the complexity of remembering and representing traumatic experiences. In all the productions, followed the 1996 rigid form production of Venus, body memory is used to explore the profound and lasting impact of historical trauma on both individual and collective levels. By portraying Sargit Baartman's body as a site of memory, the productions of Venus underscores the embodied nature of trauma and the enduring legacy of racial and gendered violence. The production, the performance challenges audience to confront the ways in which history is marked on the bodies and how it is performed. Thank you so much for your patience. I believe a work in progress, a paper in progress is over. Now I believe it's time for you to interact.
Thank you, sir. It was really enlightening. And now I would like to call whoever wants to just ask something to our resource person, they can just raise your hand. Yes, Aishwarya. Yeah, you can now unmute yourself.
Biju sir, here in the University of Kerala Institute of English, we had written a play and performed it a few months ago,
Okay.
where we talked about disability, Shakespearean characters, historical characters, where we used Sarah Baartman, Tono Maria, and other women displayed in freak shows.
It's wonderful. This idea is wonderful.
Yes.
And at the same time, I would like to mention a disability project which is going on nowadays in Thrissur with me and Kanta Kochar, a professor from Seattle. I think you know her, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, we got a towards a better earth project in which the hearing impaired people with hearing impairment were taught in different ways through Nati Shastra mudras. This lady, she's almost above 70, has been learning Odiyattam for the last 12 years, 14 years with Ramacharya. I'm very happy to introduce her and her work to the Vallath audience.
Beautiful to know about it.
Yeah, Aishwarya wanted to ask me something.
Akhila is saying she would like to have more deep awareness about Venus. Are there any other plays that are about these freak shows and other apart from Susan Laurie Parks's Venus?
There are plenty of because that was a popular practice in Europe in 19th century.
Yeah.
to bring in animals and slaves from various parts of the world to exhibit to show us public exhibits.
There are references of such an exhibitionism in Tempest.
Yes,
In
of
reference
course.
to Caliban.
Yeah.
Because Caliban is saying, Stefano is saying, I think, that if we bring a big fish, something like that, he says, if we bring a big fish, it is easy to get money out of it by showing, because people will flock to see it. He is referring to the monstrosity of Caliban.
Yes, yes.
Thinking that Caliban is a fish because he's hiding under the sack.
Yes. What impressed me is I was first introduced to this play not by reading the play, but an interview, say, a conversation between Tony Kushner and Susan Laurie Parks in New York in 2001. And I was deeply impressed by the kind of theatrical imagination which Susan Laurie Parks wanted to employ at that time in the making of this play.
You just referred about Susan Laurie Parks's body, or was it Sarah Baartman's when you talked about
No.
at the beginning?
Susan Laurie Parks is the playwright. She's a contemporary playwright, African American. And Sarjit Baartman is a...
No, what I meant is you talked about the monstrous buttocks.
Yes. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why Sarah Baartman was taken to stepagia, some sort of a physical, kind of deformity or a speciality or whatever. That was the reason why she was taken to Europe.
But she had some problem on her face also, right? Because her pictures in the internet show a deformed face, I think.
No. I think that is very particular to Khoikhoi women. But these photographs, most of these photographs were taken from the remains which were kept in Paris Museum.
For 1 year, eh?
Yeah, no. For many years. After
many years.
her death in 1815, her remains of her body were dissected by scientists, doctors, and the other remains were something like, do we usually keep saints' bodies? Her body was kept in Paris Museum. So that photograph shows her original photographs were not available because photography was not. There are some paintings and brochures of her. That's all available in the internet. That's
right. And this idea that look at the racism behind it. The idea that white people, when they come into contact with blacks or Asians, that some changes will happen to their body is reflected in Heart of Darkness, where Marlowe's head is measured by the doctor before he goes to Congo.
Congo. And that novel is specifically, some sort of a document which portrays how the exoticization of Africa, there's an interplay of racism and colonialism, how Kurtz, he cannot get back from Africa, Congo, deeper Congo.
There is no way to talk about body without talking about monstrosity, isn't it, sir?
Yes.
So many bodies become monstrous in mainstream perception.
This is not actually monstrous. It's not because it's monstrous, but it is an exoticization of certain features which were absent in the whole of European imagination. Exactly how, there's a beautiful saying in England that the English people colonized India because they were in search of color, spices. English is a barren landscape. but most of Europe. So that's why they engaged in not because of money and nothing, but for color, for spices, for food. Like that, there is a precise exoticization of the African American bodies in the story, in the narratives attached to the story of Venus.
Yeah. When I said monstrous, I meant it in a very general sense. Whatever is not normal and mainstream.
Yes.
Akila has asked you a question.
Yeah.
Koel, would you like to read it out? Koel has lost a connection. Do you give other examples of the same theme, like the exploitation and commodification of Black female bodies, which has been published in recent years?
There are plenty of, but there are no such historical or literary texts which were celebrated like one that of Venus, because Venus was celebrated as almost like a great actress or a film star at that time. But the reason was different. And she was displayed as nude. Most of the times, she was kept in a cage.
Yeah.
There are plenty of other examples, in contemporary theater, especially in Asian, South Asian, and African.
I have opened the mic. Maria, if you want to speak, you can speak.
Hello, ma'am, and hello, sir. I'm a former student, so I think we were in touch yesterday. It's good to see you on this forum, and thank you for your lecture. I'd like to bring up the point that I noticed that it was interesting that how we see like a sort of pattern in Europe, how they have these othered bodies or racially othered bodies. And there is a frequent connection with these people and performance. We have the gypsy people of Europe who were forced to perform on the streets for a living because they were othered and unable to find proper regular employment. We have Black people who are also treated as exhibitions or, valued for their performance, tribal dances, as well as Sarah Baartman. I would like to know your thoughts about current discussion about this. That oftentimes Black people in the West now get recognition usually for their performance, whether it's through music, dance, or sports. Maybe you could speak to that, sir.
Sir, you're muted.
Maria, could you please repeat your final argument? To the best of my understanding, you're trying to distinguish between the kind of performances of the spectacle of Venus and the contemporary, right?
Yeah, I was wondering what you thought about. There's this certain idea that Black people, especially Black people, are usually valued for their performances or what they offer as something to consume for white audiences, especially in the West. Usually for their music, their dance, or their sports, that they're only valued as things that are exhibited, things to be gazed on. I was wondering if that becomes relevant in related to our paper here.
That's an entirely different issue. The Americans started to, at the beginning, they were used as because they were physically stronger than most of the whites, and they were, included in the teams, athletics, basketball in particular, which needs a lot of strength. And Africa has a long tradition of music and acting, that is theater, in a wide variety of ways, rituals. The kind of theater emerged from rituals, etc. This is not exactly connected with this. As Maria said, most of the major players in European football teams are Africans, of African origins, whether they come from Algeria or South of Africa. But this is an entirely different, issue in connection with the in connection with um, the colonial practices of Europeans in from 16th century onwards. This is some the kind of colonial expeditions to Latin America, later to Africa, and after that to the part of various sections of Asia. So this is Venus. The exhibition of Venus is located in a broader, spectrum of thought and philosophy than the kind of induction of Africans in sports, arts, and music. The reason is entirely different. Because Carl Lewis or Michael Jackson or all these great musicians, actors, players, sportsmen, athletes, Magic Johnson or whatever. This is because of the kind of agility of the body, strength, and physical fitness Africans traditionally have. This is, of course, Sarah Baartman's issue is also connected with the tribal, hereditary, tribal, kind of her body, but that is used in an entirely different way. We cannot imagine that she was kept as a spectacle in early 19th century in major cities, unimaginably, which is unimaginable these times. But there is some point in connecting both, how Africans or Asians are positioned, are privileged as actors, sportsmen, and football stars. There must be something like this. But another thing is both these activities are predominantly a part of the commercial. At that time, it was feudal commercial, but this time it's multi-corporational kind of investments and finance. But there is a point in connecting both. Yeah, Maria.
All right, sir. Thank you for your insight.
Dear sir, I have to leave because I have another session now. I'll be in touch with you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, ma'am.
It's our privilege. Koel, please continue. Some more people might want to discuss.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Sure, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am. So anyone else who wants to talk with our resource person? Sir, I have one question.
Sure, ma'am.
Sir, please don't call me ma'am. It's Koel only.
Yeah.
So, how does body memory relate to embodiment? Actually, you gave the idea. I need a little more clarification about it.
This is precisely in connection with the neuroscientific, works. I'm searching for some material. Yeah, neuroscience has recently explored the experience of the body, focusing on the concept of body representations, which are basically based on cognitive structures that function. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You are.
Structures that function in some way or other to track the state of the body and encode it. These are observations by neuroscientists working on the cultural kind of aspect of representation of body. It's again, Maurice Merleau-Ponty, long back, stated, I quote, our body comprises as it were two distinct layers, that the habit body, which is body memory, and that of the body at this moment, body representation. Correspondingly, the body must be apprehended not only in an experience which is instantaneous, peculiar to itself and complete in itself, but also some general aspect of, and in the light of impersonal being. This is very easy to illustrate the idea of body memory. For example, uh, do you drive a car? Do you drive?
Not yet, sir.
If you ask somebody who drives a car, once there is a crisis, there is no time, fraction of a second, we will apply the brakes. There is no time to reach the signals to the brain and come back the response. It's a part of the body memory. And especially performance like Kathakali and Kudiyattam. They perform for 8 or 9 years to perform a character, their rehearsal. And after that, there are no rehearsals. 2 actors or 3 actors who learned in the same system can come one evening and perform without rehearsals. There won't be any lack of time. And then again in Kathakali, some characters make amazing voices, scrawling and all these things, and they jump, but they don't use much energy in jumping because it's a part of the kind of rehearsal we have. Because that's all inscribed in our body, our memory, the body memory. So that's why, apart from the brain, the intervention of the brain, there is another, memory working with the scientific fact. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for clearing out. And in a chat box, Shakshi is asking that can you please know the title? I mean, can you please tell the title of your paper on this particular text, Venus, to get a broader idea?
I just shaped as body performance, body memory and performance. An analysis of the play Venus by Susan Laurie Parks. But it's not a final title. I'm working on this paper.
So, guys, please stay on with us. You will know about Sar's title soon.
Yeah, but there are many books and other things, materials are available on internet. I am happy to, share the kind of materials I'm using. I'm now reading on it. No problem about it.
That, sir, you can share with me. I can post in the
Oh,
group if you want.
sure.
Okay, thank you. So now it's time to wrap the session.
Yeah.
So, sir, just a formal vote of thanks. That on behalf of CSRF and all the attendees in our session, I extend my heartfelt gratitude for your thought-provoking lecture on body, memory, and performance. Your interdisciplinary approach and blending philosophy, cognitive science, and movement therapy provided us with a fresh perspective. Thank you once again for sharing your wisdom. We eagerly await for more enlightening sessions from you. Now, I would like to thank with all sincerity Dr. Colonialism ma'am for her unwavering support and dedication to fostering a love for literature and empowering students like us. I would also like to express my thanks to all the attendees who contributed to the success of this event. Your presence made it truly special.
Yeah,
Yes,
I need just 5 seconds to thank Kalyani Vallath ma'am for her kind invitation, and Koyal Banerjee for her wonderful organization, and all those who are present here for for their patience. Actually, it's a paper in the making, but I'm happy that you remain with us, with me for the last 1 hour. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. I'm ending the session now, sir.
Yeah.
With your permission.